Hello, you lovely lot. How the devil are you? Oh my goodness me, have I got a lovely episode for you today. You are in for a treat. Judy Wayman. What can I say about Judy? Well, I suppose before I introduce Judy, I should really start talking about what this episode is about. Today's episode is all about words. I was changing the beds one day and I thought, what on earth can I talk about next on this podcast? What topic speaks to me and who else can I get on who will be able to talk about this said topic that would be speaking to me and therefore hopefully speaking to you guys too? The previous evening to this thought, I was sat in circle and we were bringing people through and we were practicing and we were developing as we do in circle. And I was reminded of the power of words. I was sat with one of my friends in circle, and I won't go through the exact thing of what the situation was because that is private. But to say that this person was having a health issue, and I knew this person was having a health issue, and I made one of the biggest mistakes I have made in mediumship so far. Whether it's misinterpretation or whatever it is, I blurted out the word cancer. And the look on this person's face was sort of like deer caught in headlights, dear God, what have you just said? And in that moment, I thought, why did I just say that? And I said it because it was a sense of there was something within this person growing. And in a sense, there was. Again, I'm not going to go into details. It was not cancer. It was nothing like that. But my interpretation of this thing within her, my interpretation was that. And I thought, shit, like words seriously count when you're doing this. And I know Nicola has said this and she has told me this time and time again that your words matter. The way you say things and how you say things is so important. But it wasn't until that moment I thought, wow, okay, I really have the power here to make someone or crush someone. And I do not want to be that person to crush someone. That is not what I'm here for. And I got thinking about the concept of words and how we use words in mediumship, the different nuances of language, however it is, or whatever that looks like, however that sounds like. It all goes to building the message, all goes to be able to convey to your sitter who you feel you have connecting with you and channeling through you. So I knew I wanted to do an episode on words. And then I got thinking, well, who on earth can talk about words? Who do I know who has the power to master words and to be able to manipulate them and use them in a way which brings love and healing? And I thought I knew exactly who, Judy Wayman. For those of you not in the know, Judy Wayman is a celebrant here in Norfolk. And my God, she is phenomenal. She is just amazing. Judy was a celebrant for my mum's funeral. And, we've been in touch a couple of times since mum's funeral. But she brought mum to life, or back to life through her words. She asked me and my sister for stories. She asked for photos. She asked for so much information so that she could build her story. And if I'm honest, I really wasn't sure if I wanted a funeral for mum, because when that happened, I'd always been in the mindset of, I don't want someone who doesn't know my loved one, who doesn't know my person, to get up on a pedestal and start talking about them as if they did. To me, that sounded really fake and it sounded really insincere, or at least it felt insincere. But just one meeting with Judy and I knew that she was the right person. She's brilliant. I am not going to say any more. Instead, I will let Judy's words speak for themselves. So, this is just so beautiful. She is such a wordsmith and she is just wonderful. I love her. Enjoy, guys. In 2017, retired nurse and university lecturer Judy Wayman suffered a life-changing neck injury which caused her to reevaluate her life and career. A year later, Judy retrained as a celebrant and founded her business Moonstone Ceremonies. She plays a major part in leading celebrations which mark significant stages in people's lives, whether it's naming ceremonies, weddings, vow renewals, or funerals. Judy provides the words which celebrate and connect to her clients. She's always had a spiritual side, and although she says that she was not religious, it was whilst receiving Reiki in 2017 that she describes having her first shamanic journey to the upper world. Since then, she has followed Sandra Ingerman's teachings and says, "I believe in the old ways. I am not pagan as such, not a priestess, not a shaman. I'm a healer and an empath. I tell people stories, celebrate life, and help people when they are raw and at their most vulnerable by being present, compassionate, and open." Judy, what a wonderful passage you gave me to introduce you. Thank you so much, and welcome to my podcast, The Psychic Explorer. How are you doing?
Oh, great. And thank you, Matt. It's just lovely to be talking about, well, celebrancy and how my spirituality and some of my experiences along the way. It's great to be talking about that. Thank you.
Well, it's lovely to see you again. The last time I saw you, it was under not so happy circumstances, but you did such a beautiful and amazing job. And when I thought of this episode, I thought, I know who I want. So I'm just grateful you said yes. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
As someone who is stepping into this world of psychic and mediumship readings myself, I feel that words are so incredibly important. They have such an impact on the sitter. And I wanted you on because you work with words every day, words which celebrate, words which have impact. I mean, again, I know how good you are from personal experience, and I think that that final passage that you gave me says it all. Words themselves are vital if we want to get our meaning and our message across in a loving and compassionate way, but that is not a skill that everyone has. Many people find it unnatural or uneasy. So I want to start from the beginning, if that's okay, Judy.
Yeah.
And I know we touched on it in the introduction, but what drew you to this path?
Oh, gosh. Now, celebrancy for me is the last thing we can do for anyone. It's something that's got to be the best thing that we can do. And I think my background in nursing, my time sitting with people as they died, for me was a massive privilege to be able to be present with them. And actually, many times the silence would be filled with their presence. And it's very difficult to describe, but again, that privilege of being with them and knowing that they had a good, gentle death. So I was able to bring that element into celebrancy, but also many years as a university lecturer, teaching nurses, teaching paramedics and doctors, medical students, and pharmacists. I was able to, I learned how to use space, how to be present, how to draw people in to the words, to the meaning of the words that I was using. So when I had that year, practically flat on my back, feeling quite helpless, it was time to think, how can I now, with all of the restrictions, that physical restrictions that I have, how can I now use those skills with the best of intentions? And actually, intention is a huge thing in celebrancy. That intention to do our best, not just for the deceased, the departed, but for everybody present there. And that's why I do this.
You mentioned there about your experience. I presume that you are a palliative care nurse?
No, I worked with people of all ages. Before I left, I worked in intensive care. I worked with patients in intensive care who we knew were not going to survive, and people who most generously donated their organs. I worked with elderly people, and yes, I worked with people who were on an end-of-life pathway.
Such a poignant moment in someone's life, and for someone in my situation, it's just an everyday layperson, that sounds absolutely alien and tragic. But I guess to you, it must, as you said, it's an honour, it's a privilege to be there at someone's end of life and to bring them comfort, if that's possible, if you can.
Yeah, and actually, I'm working with a young gentleman at the moment who is on an end-of-life care pathway. And we're working together so that his wishes, his story is going to be told from his perspective.
Wonderful. So you know him already? You're getting to know him already?
Yeah, that's awesome. It's actually quite mind-blowing. I've not, again, that word privilege, I've not had the privilege of doing that before. But I met him with his father, and we actually had the most glorious time together. The laughter, as well as the poignant and sad moments. Again, it reaffirmed that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, you're on the right path, yeah. Well, this question I've got here, and I feel that you have sort of half answered it already, but I'll ask it anyway, and I'll let you lead the way. But was there a moment when you've realised the power of words to transform, again, that word poignant moment in someone's life into something sacred or meaningful? I would imagine that came actually before your decision to do celebrancy.
Yes, and I thought hard about that question. And it goes back to when I was a student nurse, probably around 1980. I had a placement in the theatres, operating theatres, and we had a South African theatre sister, Christian, very strong-minded, and she was railing against one of the consultants who could be quite cutting. She said to me, "Words are like fire, they destroy." Now, I think that's from the Bible. But I thought about that for a long time, and I saw the other side of it. That words can be beautiful, they can be uplifting, they can be transformative. And that really set me on that path about words. And English literature has been very important to me since my childhood. I've always loved reading. I love words. I bought a thesaurus, Roget's thesaurus, when I was about 13 or 14. And I still enjoy diving into the sections of it. So I'm very, very careful in my choice of words when I write a tribute. But what I will say is those words are not always mine. Sometimes I'll tell you how I work. So when I've spoken to a family, listened to a family telling me their loved one's story, and I might have one person in the room and I might have half a dozen telling me the story. And I will always ask for a photograph. Can I see a photo? I didn't always used to do that, but I do now. And I'll often say, if they came into the room now, what would they say to us? How would they react? And so When I've got all of the information and a picture in my head, I'll go away the next day, sit in the corner of my favourite cafe with my laptop on its stand and my headphones in, and I will centre myself and I will just listen. And when I feel that I have that voice in my head, then I'll start typing. Sometimes it doesn't come straight away. And sometimes I either get that feeling or hear that voice that says, no, that's wrong. That word's wrong. You haven't quite got it. So I'll go through that process again and I'll just let them tell their story through me. That's not something I say to very many people.
It sounds to me that you've really leaned into your connection.
Yes, very much so. You've got it, Matt. 100%.
And I know that you said you don't always choose the words, but these situations that you put yourself into, whether they be a celebration of love and marriage or a celebration of someone's life, there's so much emotion involved in that.
Yes.
How do you know which words to choose? How do you know what is appropriate?
I think that comes from intuiting. And when I've written something down and I read back that paragraph, if I don't believe a word fits that person, then I won't use it. I will just reflect quietly until I know I've got the right word. And just to say, I've learnt to be my authentic self. And so I now only take end-of-life ceremonies.
Do you? Okay.
I've stopped doing weddings unless I have a connection with that person. Same with vow renewals. I recently was asked to do a vow renewal because I took the lady's mother's funeral. And they felt that I was part of their story, part of their journey. And that was, again, I was absolutely humbled by that. So I sometimes get blown away by people's stories. And so I have to work hard at it. Yeah.
So much of what you're saying is resonating with me because although I'm still early in my development in all this, when I do readings, I notice that I'm sitting, I'm trying to connect, and I'm saying what I'm saying, and suddenly I say a word and I'm thinking, no, that's not right. That is not right. And I just know it. And I say, the way that I see it, Judy, I almost see these words falling out of my mouth. And when there's a word that's not right, I almost want to lasso it with a rope and sort of pull it back in again and say, no, that's not quite right. Let me just sit with that a bit more and just, get it out properly.
Yeah, that's really it. And sometimes if I'm taking a service and I feel the atmosphere is flat, or sometimes the room feels cool, I go off script a bit and I intuitively will say something different or change the manner of my speaking. And then I'll find that everything warms up again and people are with me. And it's learning. I've done, 700 funerals, celebrations of life now since 2019. And just being able to feel that it's not quite right in the moment. As you're saying, that's not quite right. That's not, it's, so that's what I do.
You were saying a moment ago about stories. And I want to know, do you consider yourself a storyteller?
Oh, yes, absolutely. My celebrant superpower, if you like to call it that, is storytelling. And researching that story. I'm currently doing some research on a lady where the client, her distant relative, knew nothing about her. So finding people in her life and getting him to find people from her childhood. I've got about 8 or 9 disparate stories about her and then weaving them together. I love that word, weaving. To be her voice to connect to all of those people who will be there, who knew a little bit about her life. That to me is wonderful.
It's being part of that journey, isn't it? It's being part of someone's story. Not only are you able to talk about that, but you're also able to participate in it as well. Something that my circle leader says to us, when we are connecting and when we are giving readings, she says, make it into a story, because it makes it so much more tangible. If you're able to interpret these images, these sounds, these feelings that you have into something which is more tangible, then it means so much more to the sitter. It's so much more for them.
Yes, absolutely right. And I don't tell a story in a linear way. I try and theme the stories. I now try and bring out something that nobody really knows about that person, or is so special that it has made an impact on either their or other people's lives. And just using those words just to bring everybody into that space and hold that space.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I think holding as well, something you said there about the holding, that's really important. Again, this is why I wanted you on, because there's so many similarities in what you do and what mediums do in those sittings, because you need to hold the sitter, you need to hold the reading, and be aware of when they might be drifting off if you're not catching their attention. Fascinating.
Yeah.
And talking about mediumship, in a way, both of us speak to the unseen. I try and connect with spirit, you to the memory, the legacy, and the emotion. How do you prepare yourself to be a channel for something larger when you speak?
I have a routine. So when I go to the venue, usually a crematorium or a burial hall, but more often now a hotel or a field or a village hall. I sit quietly for a while, then I go through everything that I've written. I make sure that all of the music is ready, that everybody knows what's happening, and I just still myself. And I have a breathing routine, and then I know that I am ready for not just to tell that person's story, but to show gratitude for them, to reflect their values, to talk about their legacy. And I think when I am centered in that, then I can go forward. And I think in a way that's the same that you do.
Again, as you're speaking, there's lots of things going on at the moment, and I'm feeling particularly disconnected at the moment. And as you're saying these things, I'm thinking, that's what I need to do more of. I need to ground myself. I need to center myself more before I step into this work, rather than just come in from work, have dinner, and get straight to it. There needs to be a process.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
I just want to share something with listeners. You were the celebrant for my mum's funeral, and you did it beautifully.
Thank you.
And I remember when you came out to see me and my sister, you didn't initially say anything about anything shamanic or spiritual, but I think my sister said to you that mum was into her spiritualism, reincarnation, and life after death, and all that sort of thing. And suddenly from your handbag, you produced this little bag of what you call grease stones. And at that moment, I was like, what is going on? Like, I was in my world back then, I was like, this is completely alien. I don't know what is going on here. Would you, if you wouldn't mind, would you just share that, why you have that, and what does that mean to you? Why do you do that?
I probably have a couple of 100 crystals upstairs in my bedroom. And I always carry a grief bag with me. And in that, I don't always have the same crystals, but always a rose quartz, which is protective to the heart. I will often have an amethyst, which is very much about the crown chakra. I'll sometimes have a carnelian, which is red, which is very much grounding. And I'll always have tourmaline or obsidian, and they are protective. I carry them with me, but I now carry a spare. And if I am with someone whose grief is overwhelming, or perhaps there's some block to their grief, and I'll maybe see a crystal, they'll maybe talk about their partner, loved one had crystals, then I'll give them a grief bag. And it serves many, many purposes. But in one respect, I carry my own because it allows me to be present without absorbing the difficult stuff. But I'm going to tell you a little story, if I may.
Do.
I saw a gentleman, his wife, who was only in her late 40s, had died. She had cancer. She went to a spiritualist church. She had her own crystals. She was beautiful inside and out. And I gave him a grief bag. I put it on his seat at the funeral. And it was the most beautiful funeral. And I really felt her presence. We went out afterwards and I was talking to everybody. And as usual, I said my goodbyes. I said my goodbye to him. We actually hugged. And from somewhere came the words, "I love you." That wasn't me telling him. That was her telling him. And I will say, it knocked me sideways. He took it in his stride.
So you told him this?
I actually said those words to him. "I love you." And he looked at me, nodded and smiled. And I think my face must have been...
What I just said?
Yeah, what I just said. What does he think of me? But he knew. He knew that was from her. But I think that connection and the crystals, and actually her niece who spoke at the funeral, she had some crystals. And I'd got her a grief bag too. And we looked at the crystals and we both had the same crystals. So we all work in different ways. Sometimes with the most amazing outcomes.
Well, what do you think? Isn't Judy brilliant? Absolutely lovely and so genuine in everything that she says. What I love is that I tend to blurt everything out as it comes, and luckily I can edit as I go on this podcast. Judy, though, she thinks about every single word. And if there is a lesson for any medium or psychic out there, it is that the words you speak have power. To use your words with kindness and to use your words with thought, love and intelligence. And on that note, I will use my words to shamelessly self-promote myself. Remember, guys, you can find me at the.psychic.explorer at Facebook, Threads and on Instagram. Love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your feedback on this podcast. Give me a rating, like, follow, subscribe, all those shenanigans. But enough of that. Let's get back to the wonderful Judy Wayman. Judy, how has your shamanic or spiritual beliefs influenced the way that you use words in your work?
I don't know how much you know about shamanism, but shamanism actually comes from Mongolia. And a shaman is asked a question by a villager, and that shaman will journey on their behalf. The villager may not get a straight answer, but there will be an answer or something will come of them that guides the person to what they need to do. Shamanism has spread across the world and did so many, many centuries ago. I have a power animal who is wolf. I also have a shamanic guide. And sometimes when I have something difficult, something where I'm not getting that answer, I will journey and ask the ancients, ask the spirits, ask the guides. And occasionally, I can think of a couple of occasions where I've had, such difficult situations. I have journeyed and asked for guidance and for help. And so that helps me, but also knowing that some of the ancestors may have been reincarnated, or maybe they're waiting for their loved one. It actually puts maybe a bit of pressure that, I really do need to take this seriously and get it right. I don't know if that answers your question, Matt.
It's interesting because what you're saying there is that there's this, I don't want to reuse the word pressure, but there's this responsibility. There you go. There's the word. There's responsibility to get it right. There's an awareness that you need to, especially if you are doing this just for, if you are choosing to do this solely for funerals or celebration of life ceremonies, it's so important to get that right. When you're using the word journeys here, and you're talking to a shamanic novice here, what do you mean by journey? Because in my mind, I'm thinking you're taking LSD or magic mushrooms or something. You're in some sort of sweat lodge. What is this journey?
Okay. There is a way of preparing, almost going into a trance, say. I'll often use some drumming music. There's lots on YouTube. I drum when I'm awake, or I have drummed to help other people journey. So if you get to a certain beat, at a certain rhythm, then it takes your brain to that point where you are in a trance, and you just, in that trance, ask your questions. Yes, there are some people that use LSD or go to sweat lodges or whatever, but I'm not that extreme. So a journey can last 20 minutes or an hour. I have been known to fall asleep, but there's a drum rhythm that starts it and a drum rhythm that brings you out of it, so that it's all perfectly safe.
I wouldn't imagine that there's that many sweat lodges in Norfolk.
You might be surprised.
You know what? As I said that, I thought, I bet there are a few, actually. I bet there are a few. Guarantee it. Okay, let's go back to the words then. So, do you think that part of the healing comes from the words themselves, or is it the act of them being witnessed and honoured?
It's both. I'll talk about the second part first, maybe. The words have been witnessed and honoured by people who truly loved, liked, respected the person whose life we are honouring. Now, that could be 1, 2 people. It could be, as in a service I'm about to do, it's going to be over 300. They choose to be there as witnesses to honour the person. And whether I have one person there, plus me, and maybe the funeral director, or 300, it is that same responsibility, that same need to have the words that fit that person, their personality, their beliefs or not, their spirituality or not, the things that they did in life that meant something to them, whether that's talking about their amazing apple pies or the quilts that they made, or the fact that they were a CEO of a massive international corporation. I often say we may not have lived remarkable lives or done remarkable things, but everybody is remarkable in their own way. And that I always center myself on when I find out people's stories. And sometimes, if that tale hasn't been told, I think they get frustrated from the other side. I think there are things, not only do they want to say to their loved ones, but things that they want to maybe nudge their loved ones into. I'll always remember my grandmother died when I was 18, 19, and I was living 20 miles away. I knew when she died because she visited me. There was something reassuring about that, something quite beautiful. And I have had similar episodes. So I know I'm an empath. Maybe not channeled it. Maybe I channel it through my celebrancy. But I do know how important it all is, not just to the living, but to the dead. And I think that makes massive sense to you.
Absolutely. And it's, I'm trying to think of something philosophical and clever to say, but I think that what you are saying, it just shows the importance of, and this is not necessarily fair for everyone, but it shows how good you are at what you do, because this is such an important part in people's journey, whether it is a person who has died or their family and their loved ones, because you take that time to try and connect, even if the family aren't into all this woo-woo stuff. You can still connect, you can still make an impact without making it too, again, that word universal was that too woo-woo.
Yeah.
And it's makes such a difference.
Yeah, it does. And how I present myself to people depends on the feedback that I'm getting at the time. In education, it's called reflection in action. And that's why sometimes I ad lib and change my script mentally during a service. Because as I'm going through, I'm thinking, now I need to react in this way because I'm not getting, or I really am getting, these vibes. But that's about being there in the moment with the clients.
Yeah, you're not just following a script, you're living it. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. No.
I'm sure you have heard of this phrase, and I hope I'm using it in the right context and in my mind's eye what this phrase, what this thing is. But as you're talking about what you do, and I'm also reflecting on your previous nursing career as well. Have you heard of the term soul midwife?
Yes. I am very good friends with one of the foremost soul midwives, Katie Costello. She and I were on a retreat a couple of months ago together, and she is also a celebrant. And she sits beside people when they're dying. She has conversations with people about death. She runs a podcast called Dying for a Cuppa. It's something that, it's like death doulas and soul midwives come to the same role, but from different philosophical and spiritual perspectives. I have immense respect for anyone who is a soul midwife. I think it's something that maybe if I were 20 years younger, I would explore. But I know that's now, it's not my calling. End of life celebrations, my calling. And if I can reach more people like this young man that I'm working with, and in some respects, that is a small part. But yeah, soul midwives are amazing.
How aware are you that the words that you choose to use, or that you feel are being given to you have such weight and impact on a moment. How aware are you of that?
Oh, I think because of the feedback I get almost instantaneously. I've sometimes said something and I hear maybe a gasp or see a nod or see a smile. As I'm looking round, I'm not necessarily just looking at my iPad for my script. I just see or hear or feel that reaction. And I think, my goodness, that's touched someone in such a way that it's just brought them into that moment, almost pulled them into that moment. And again, I have to take a deep breath and carry on, because what I want to do is go and talk to that person or listen to them and say, what was it? What was it about what I just said? But they'll often come to me afterwards and say, oh, my word, what you just said just captured everything about them. Or sometimes I'll be standing outside and somebody will come and just give me a huge hug. Because I'm a very huggy person.
You are. I can attest to that, yes.
So, again, that gives me a certain affirmation that what I'm doing is right.
Yeah. What impact has being a celebrant taught you about grief? Because it's something you come into contact with every day, I would imagine, of your life. But about grief and about love.
Yeah. They are so intertwined. As a nurse, I learnt very early on is that grief is not linear. Grief doesn't come straight away. They talk about the stages of grief. And in a day, you can go through all of the stages of grief and you can come back again. And again, I'll use an example of my own. My father died when I was just 25. My mother was so grief-stricken that she could barely function. And my brother was too young, really, to take it all in. So I dealt with all of the mechanics of registering his death, going to the funeral director and all of that. And I pocketed my grief and I didn't let it out until about 10 years later, when suddenly that grief just hit me. So it doesn't always follow that if you're not necessarily grieving for somebody, you don't love them. We're all different. We all show our grief differently. But I do believe that love and grief are together. And I have something that I kind of nicked from somebody else, and I paraphrased it, that says that grief is simply the love that you're unable to show anymore. Grief comes out in your tears, comes out hollow in your chest, a lump in your throat. It's love that has no other way to go. It's grief that has no other way to go. The two are hand in hand. And I very much feel that the person who wrote that originally understood grief.
Just thank you so much, Judy. This has been absolutely wonderful. Again, your words have really touched me, and I'm sure that those listening to this will also be touched. I have one final question for you. Before we say our goodbyes, Judy, what does a goodbye mean to you as a celebrant, as Judy?
Goodbye as Judy. I would say it's got to be more than a good goodbye. That is, I would say, my bottom line. I think it has to be more than that. I hope during a goodbye, there's a roller coaster of emotions. I often say I haven't done my job unless I've got people laughing and crying. It kind of fluffs up my ego if somebody says at the end, "How long did you know so-and-so?" Then I know I've done the job well. And somebody said to me the other day, "You must have had some conversations over a glass of wine or a pint." And I said, "I wish I had. I really wish I had, because I really would have loved to have met that person." So that's a good goodbye.
Yeah. I think what the amazing job that you do, you allow people to have that moment. You allow people to have that goodbye when you make them laugh in a moment that is unexpected. They don't think they're going to laugh. You touch them. And I think that, what more could you want from a perfect goodbye? Wonderful.
Oh, gosh, thank you so much.
Judy, where can people find you? That is, if you want to be found. I'm giving you this option.
Oh, of course, I want to be found. So if people look up Moonstone Ceremonies, and I can be found at info@celebrantnorfolk.co.uk. And I'm more than happy to have phone calls out of the blue. I don't work office hours. I work evenings and weekends whenever people need me or need a celebrant to work with.
Wonderful. And I can give you a 5-star review from personal experience. Just a wonderful experience.
You already have, Matt. Thank you.
You're right. I did. I gave you. I'll give you another one. Thank you, Judy. It's been absolutely marvellous. Thank you so, so much. Thank you.
You are most kindly welcome. Thank you.
Please tell me you enjoyed that as much as I did. I've listened to that so many times since I recorded it, and each time I listen to it, it just fills me with joy and brings a smile to my face. A massive thank you to Judy. That was the first time Judy had done an interview for a podcast, and she said that off the back of that, she wanted to do more. So I'm really grateful that, I was able to get in there first and share her words about words with you, lovely, lovely lot. Also, a massive well done to Judy. I thought she performed fabulously. A total pro from the get-go, and yeah, just fantastic. I said in the interval that as a psychic or medium, one of the biggest lessons we can take from this is that words have meaning, words have impact. And actually, I want to just reframe that. You don't need to be a psychic or a medium for words to be important. As we live our life in this physical world, we can hurt people. I've done it. We've all done it. We can love people with our words, but we can also hurt people. And sometimes we don't realize we do it until it's too late. Things at the moment in the world, this is being recorded at the end of July. Things in the world, and they haven't been good for quite some time, but they are seriously not good at the moment. And I wonder just how much of this could be averted with just a bit more understanding, a bit more empathy, and by choosing words which were not necessarily diplomatic, just kinder and truthful. So if you take nothing else from this episode, take that idea that you have the power to change other people's lives, not necessarily through actions, but through your words. You can bring a smile to someone's face who may be having a really crappy day. You have that power just by one simple word, by maybe saying hello or asking how they are. You have that power. Make that change, and let's see where that ripple goes. Until next time, guys, I'm sending you all my love. Take care. Bye.